Hey everyone, and welcome to Multi-Cloud Happenings on this Tuesday, the last week in June of 2024, which is pretty amazing already. This year is flying by. So I'm really excited today because we're going to talk about discover the capabilities and primary use cases of OCI GoldenGate and Oracle Database and Azure solution. So hi everybody, my name is Tammy Bednar and I focus on our Exadata database services, our base database services and multi-cloud of course. And with me today is Suzanne Holliday. Hey Suzanne.
Hey, Tammy. Hey, Julian.
And our very special guest, Julian. And Julian, I apologize. How do you pronounce your last name?
Oh, yeah, you can just say Testa. That's fine. Yeah, Julian Testa.
Okay. So Julian is from our Golden Gate product management team. So we're really excited to talk about that. I get lots of questions about Golden Gate. Being at Oracle for so long, I've heard about Golden Gate. So we're really excited to talk to you today about how to use Golden Gate with our Oracle Database and Azure solution. So I have to put this in. This is our safe harbor statement because we're all product managers and we like to say a lot of things, but you can never put anything we say into a contract. That's just basically what that says. Okay. So to get started, our agenda today, we're going to just briefly bring everybody up to the same page on what the Oracle Database and Azure solution is. Then Julian is going to talk about the OCI GoldenGate, some use cases and how you can use that within the Oracle Database and Azure solution and next steps. And of course, if you have any questions, please post those on Q&A and we'll be happy to address those during the session or after we are all done. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about what is Oracle Database and Azure. Well, first of all, it's a multi-cloud solution, but we're very unique in this solution because what we've done is not just connect the best applications and databases together, we've actually co-located them together. And that's what this Oracle Database and Azure solution is about, is how we have brought some of our OCI database services and co-located it into Azure regions. The benefit of this, it gives you very close proximity of our applications, our databases, which means low latency to use the solution together and be able to deliver these services. So, and what that also means is that it gives you the opportunity to run the workloads where you want to run them. Obviously, we have our OCI database solutions. We are using the same exact services in OCI with this Oracle Database and Azure solution, which is the Exadata, which runs on the Exadata platform. So you can run your database solutions in all the different regions in OCI, and now with multi-cloud, we can now run them within co-located in your Azure regions that you have focused some of your Azure applications as well. We give you a really easy opportunity to provision the service within Azure using the Azure UI as well as Terraform and API tools. It also gives you the opportunity, if you're still working on moving some of those on-premise workloads into the cloud. So be able to migrate your solutions into the cloud. But not only that, when you move to the cloud, you're really modernizing a lot of the applications on how they work within your business. So it gives you an opportunity to build and run those applications natively within the cloud. On top of that, because we have a really strong partnership with Microsoft, this also helps simplifies your operations and purchasing. Operations-wise, you can see the same metrics from Oracle databases in the Azure metrics, the view of the statistics and the information within the Azure UI. I'll get the words out shortly. And then on top of that, when it comes to purchasing, you can also see a unified bill of your commitments that you have used with the Oracle Exadata database service, that's located in the Oracle Database Azure solution. Okay, so the offering, I talked about the customer, you're being able to use our database services from OCI closely located to applications that you have running in Azure. Now, right now, there are 2 Oracle Database, our OCI offerings that are part of the Oracle Database and Azure solution. The first one, of course, is the Exadata database service. It's the exact same dedicated service that you experience in OCI. Also, if you're an Exadata customer on premises and you like the way it works, you get the same experience of using the Exadata database service no matter where you run it, whether it's in OCI, cloud at customer as a hybrid cloud, or co-located in Azure as well in a multi-cloud environment. And then recently, we just added the Autonomous Database Serverless Edition, which is in a shared architecture, very fast to spin up autonomous databases and get started with your applications. Okay, so Suzanne, want to talk about where all those regions are located so our customers can get started?
Sure, of course. Thank you, Tammy. Yeah, that was exciting news about the autonomous database being officially announced last Thursday. So that's good. And that's in the US region, US East, and that will be ramping up across the other regions that we have. So we've currently got the 4 regions today, which is the US East, Germany, West Central, France, UK South. And we've put a lot of work in, as Tammy already said, with the partnership to make this progression. And as you can see on this map, we've got marked that we've got the 11 planned regions as well. And this is just to really meet growing demand. I think it's really important to express as well, if you see regions that are not available and you have a business requirement for those regions, then please do talk to your sales rep and account team. And we work with Microsoft based on demand. So this is how we are expanding our footprint. Next slide, please, Tammy. So let's just talk briefly about the architecture. This is important for this session because Julien is going to be taking us through OCI GoldenGate, introducing it. And when we do talk about the use cases, we will talk about the specifics, the applicability of the network with OCI GoldenGate as well. So I think one of the most common questions we first get asked for customers who are new to this is, where does the X9M Exadata hardware and where does the actual Exadata cloud infrastructure, the VM clusters, in other words, everything that's Tammy's spoken about in terms of the Exadata database service and the autonomous database serverless reside? So they're all deployed in the Azure data center into the customer's availability zone. And since the data plane is in Azure, it does provide that lowest latency connectivity with the Microsoft applications that are deployed in the same or a different VNet. And what we have here on the left, if you have a look, we've got the Azure region, and you'll see here we've got something marked called a delegated client subnet, and that's required in order to deploy the database services. And we have the virtual network interface cards, the VNICs, they are created inside these delegated subnets. So generally how we build it out is that we have the OCI child sites in the Azure data centers, and these are depicted here on the left. So this is where all the good stuff is deployed and how we're actually creating this close proximity in the Azure region. And then we connect them to a specific OCI region that's closest in terms of physical proximity and network distance. Now, the reason why we do that is because we need the network traffic for the OCI control plane, the OCI Vault encryption, the backup also go through the OCI managed network. And that's why the OCI managed network really plays an important role in delivering this low network latency between the clients inside the Azure network. On the right side, we have the respective OCI availability domain, and each availability domain has one or more data centers within the child data center sites as well. And this just acts as an extension of the OCI domain fabric. And the Oracle Exadata Cloud Infrastructure, the VM clusters, like I've said, and the Oracle autonomous serverless are all deployed in the actual data center, and they're actually deployed through the Azure portal. So this is a full integration that we've done, and that enables you to use the familiar UI as well as we are making available very soon on the Azure side, the APIs to deploy as well. On the OCI side, we have the database and we have all the usual APIs, UI, of course, as well as all the database lifecycle management that is done there. And we have those APIs for you to use on that side, so nothing changes there. Now, the Oracle Database at Azure connects to a client subnet within the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, OCI Virtual Network. And to connect the database VCN with the Hub VCN, this communication transits through the local peering gateway, which you're going to see when we talk about the GoldenGate connectivity a little bit later. You'll also see on this slide, we talk about client connectivity as well. And this is a network setup that allows connectivity from both Azure and the OCI resources. What it doesn't permit is this direct communication between the two. And you'll see that when we talk about the architectures in GoldenGate and the choices that we make, which Julien will explain in the use cases. So with having that said, I will now hand over to you, Julien, to take us through what is OCI GoldenGate, and then you and I can have a discussion on the use cases. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Suzanne. Thanks, Tammy, for the introduction, and thanks everyone for joining us today. So, I'm gonna describe what we're gonna start with. Why would you use GoldenGate before anything else, so that everybody understands what GoldenGate does. Then we'll talk about OCI GoldenGate itself, so you maybe discover what the service is all about. Take a look at some of its characteristics, why it's obviously great with any database, but especially with Oracle databases. And then, as Suzanne was saying, we'll then drill down a bit later in the presentation on the actual use cases and the reference architectures that we've worked on with the Database at Azure team. But before we get there, why do customers typically use GoldenGate? Like, there are like three main, I would say, requirements, and really the number one requirements typically is all about business continuity, right? So you have data stores. You have data stores, throughout your enterprise, throughout the globe. And how do you ensure that those data stores are available, 24/7, whenever your, customers need it, your internal customers, your external customers, your partners. And so GoldenGate is the typically one of the best, if not the best solution when it comes to ensuring, the high availability of your database ecosystem. And we have, thousands of customers worldwide that are using GoldenGate to ensure the high availability of their systems, ensure that there is no or limited downtime during migrations between like-to-like technologies, but also across heterogeneous technologies. So business continuity and ensuring, I would say, business continuity is typically, one of the core requirements when it comes to using GoldenGate. The second core requirement is going to be around ensuring that the data basically flows throughout the enterprise in real time. And GoldenGate can help you achieve that by leveraging, its change data capture capabilities, having that ability to grab change data from, as we'll see, a wide variety of source systems, and then replicating that as fast as possible to different endpoints. And as we'll see in the reference architectures, as we'll see, throughout the presentation, this can be used obviously on-prem to on-prem, on-prem to cloud, cloud to cloud, from one region in the cloud to another region in the same cloud, from one region in one cloud to another region in another cloud. So you can really mix and match. And GoldenGate is really able to help you and your customers and your partners ensure that data flows throughout the enterprise and throughout like your geographical sites, which can be very far away. We like, when we talk about GoldenGate, to talk about like planet scale data availability. And then finally, GoldenGate is all about real-time data movement, right? I mean, you heard me talk about change data capture capabilities, and really at its core, what GoldenGate does is that it grabs the latest change data from relational systems, but not just relational systems, as we'll see today. And then it's able to replicate the change data in real time to downstream systems. And very often, you do this because you want to ensure that those downstream systems have access to the latest data. And, like for, I would say, like many times or many years, we've been talking about doing real-time analytics, real-time data warehousing, real-time data science, ensuring that those workloads have access to the latest data and not, the data from last week, last month, and, like really the freshest data. And nowadays, we just launched very recently the Oracle Database 23 AI. We also launched GoldenGate 23 AI. And GoldenGate 23 AI can help you build your AI ML workloads and ensure that your large language models have access to the latest data, so that you can train them using the latest data, or you can augment them with retrieval augmented generation processes or RAG processes using the latest, freshest data coming from pretty much any system that GoldenGate supports. So, in a nutshell, three main core requirements and why customers use GoldenGate: business continuity, continuous data flows, and timely insights, not just for analytics, but also for AI ML. So that's GoldenGate, like I would say as a whole. And now let's talk about OCI GoldenGate itself. OCI GoldenGate is our fully managed offering on the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And OCI GoldenGate in OCI is a fully unified data fabric platform. And when I say unified, it means that it's more than just the GoldenGate functionality, just the data replication functionality, which we're going to focus on today, but it's also powered by data transforms, which adds to the data replication functionality batch ETL. ETL stands for extract, transform, and load capabilities. So the ability to transform data as micro batches or large batches. And then we also have the GoldenGate Stream Analytics deployment types, which helps users grab the change data that GoldenGate replicates and then do create streaming ETL pipelines on top of that data, and then build real-time visualizations on top of the data that GoldenGate captured. So, as you can see, GoldenGate in OCI, and when it is OCI GoldenGate, provides data replication, data transformations, and streaming capabilities. Today in the webinar, we will really focus on the data replication functionality. So what maps, if you will, on-prem to the core GoldenGate product. Within OCI, and like what Tammy and Suzanne were saying about Exadata in the cloud and autonomous databases in the cloud, it's fully cloud native. It's managed by Oracle. We take care of upgrades, patches. We have a 99.95% service level SLA for the availability of the system. We have DR, disaster recovery processes that kicks in automatically, so that you as a user don't have to worry about that. And as cloud native services, one of the key characteristics is elasticity, and OCI GoldenGate provides auto-scaling abilities that we're going to talk about in one of the next slides. So I'm not going to talk too much about it now. And I would say from there, you can use OCI GoldenGate for a lot of different use cases, and we're going to drill down into a couple of them today, and we're going to really focus and put the spotlights on a few of them, and I mean several of them that match and map to the Oracle Database at Azure ecosystem, if I can say. So think about it as unified data fabric platform, helping you move data anywhere you want at any latency. And today we're really going to be focusing on the real-time aspect with the core replication functionality. So if you've seen, I would say, OCI presentations in the past, we are all about security, security first. And obviously OCI GoldenGate is a highly secure offering. And, like you can really trust it to handle, the mission critical data that is going to flow through OCI GoldenGate. So there are a couple of things that I can mention. One is obviously that, each deployment, that's how we call the containers, if you will, for OCI GoldenGate, is fully isolated. So, you're not sharing anything with other users. All the connectivity is done through using certificates with HTTPS or secured WebSocket communication channels between GoldenGate deployments. The data that lands on the OCI GoldenGate deployments that we stage is encrypted on disk at rest. And obviously, you can encrypt the connectivity to the different source and target systems. And your credentials, the ones that are going to be used to not only log into OCI GoldenGate, but also to connect to the different source and target technologies that you're going to configure, it can be stored either in our own, I would say, managed vault from a service standpoint, or in your own customer managed OCI vaults. And Suzanne was talking a little bit about the vaults a little earlier, that allow you to encrypt and store securely, basically, information in the Oracle Cloud infrastructure. So fully secure and ready for your mission critical workloads. Then auto scaling, that's I talked about elasticity. So when you're gonna, and hopefully, right after that meeting, you're gonna go ahead and spin up an OCI GoldenGate instance. What you do typically is you provide a number of base OCPUs. Those OCPUs are the physical resources that are going to be used to run the workloads that OCI GoldenGate is going to run. And then if you enable auto scaling, then OCI GoldenGate has that ability to go up to 3 times the number of OCPUs that you've selected, up to 24 CPUs, so that you can handle like peak workloads. You're only billed for what you use up to the second, and it means that if you start small, 2 CPUs, but then you have a peak workload. OCI GoldenGate is going to scale up to 3 times the 2 CPUs, so 6 CPUs for a few hours. Then it's going to go down to 2 CPUs, and you're really billed for exactly what you use. And at the same time as we scale the compute resources, you have access to more memory. You have 16 gigabytes of memory per OCPU. You have more network bandwidth as we scale, and you have more storage as well for the data that we stage on the OCI GoldenGate system. And that's very important to know. You can start small at a very, I would say, affordable price point, and then what you design, what you create, can then handle peak workloads. And we're the only ones, so we like to talk about that. No other cloud vendor has auto scaling abilities, at least for the data replication processes. So we do like to mention our auto scaling functionality. And of course, I see some maybe a question in the chat. Feel free to ask questions in the chat, and we'll make sure to answer them all at the end of the call. So OCI GoldenGate as a data fabric platform, as we mentioned, can connect to pretty much anything you may have in your environment. And we started actually GoldenGate, if you've been following it a little bit on premises, started in the 90s, with more like mainframe connectivity. So we started with HP Nonstop. From there, we expanded into relational databases, obviously including Oracle, and we'll see why GoldenGate is best for Oracle today. But as you can see on the source side, we have tons of Oracle and non-Oracle technologies. We have applications, we have Kafka, we have things like MongoDB, and then on the target side, OCI GoldenGate and GoldenGate in general can take the data that has been captured and then replicate it into other relational databases, obviously the Autonomous Database, Exadata, as we'll see today. But not only that, also NoSQL endpoints like OCI NoSQL, MongoDB, and others, and message based technology like Kafka. And we'll talk a little bit about Kafka, Event Hub today, Confluent Cloud, which are pretty popular, I would say, target technologies. So really, what I want you to get out of that slide is that GoldenGate is heterogeneous, can connect to a wide array of source and target technologies, and you really have thousands of combinations that are available to you as a GoldenGate users to ensure that the data moves across the enterprise. And of course, today we'll focus on some of the Azure technologies that you might be using already today and that you would want, the database at Azure to integrate with. And so that's something that we'll be talking about with Suzanne when we cover the actual use cases. So now, of course, GoldenGate can be used with non-Oracle databases and Oracle databases. But, what I would like to mention here is that, not all data replication technologies are equal. And, GoldenGate is really the best possible change data capture solution when it comes to Oracle databases. We have access to APIs that nobody else has access to, which are, more efficient, ensure a higher capture rate, a higher delivery rate into your Oracle databases. Because we work very closely with the database product team, and because we're actually part of the database product team, we, of course, make sure that the latest GoldenGate versions are compatible with all the latest advancements in the Oracle database technologies. Like if you take the database 23c AI, version that we just released, we have the new vector data types, and OCI GoldenGate 23 AI and OCI GoldenGate running GoldenGate 23 AI already supports the vector data types and allows you, for example, to move data between PG vector, Postgres vectors into the Oracle Database 23 AI vectors. So you can see we have a support for Boolean, we have support for basically all of the latest functionality and data types that is part of the latest Oracle databases. Encryption and security configurations on the Oracle database are also fully supported, which is not always the case with all change data capture solution. So it's very important, and we have a technical paper that you can take a look at that is still up to date, I would say, and that just shows you and walks you through the type of APIs that GoldenGate leverages to capture and then deliver data into Oracle databases that nobody else on the market basically is using or can use. And that's why, it's definitely a great fit with the Oracle Database that Azure offering. So a quick demo, just to show you what it looks like in the OCI console. So here we have an OCI GoldenGate 23 AI deployment that has been created. It's active. When it's active, it emits metrics that go into OCI monitoring. You can set up alerts, set up notifications. From the OCI console, you can launch the GoldenGate console, and this is what it looks like. And then you can start designing your data replication processes, the extracts that are going to capture data from your different sources, and the replicates that are going to be delivering the data into your different targets. And so that's what you can see here. We've defined an extract, we've defined the replicate. Now, when they're up and running, obviously what's very important is to be able to monitor the solution. And so GoldenGate, the deployment console of GoldenGate gives you access to a lot of statistics, metrics, and charts to be able to visualize, what's going on in your OCI GoldenGate deployment. So, just to give you a glimpse and a teaser into what it looks like, and of course, feel free to take it for a spin after the webinar and start using OCI GoldenGate. So now I've said, obviously we always say good things, and I would say, we have thousands of users, and our users really like and love GoldenGate. We've been highly rated in all of the latest analyst reports. So we've been a leader in the Magic Quadrant for data integration tools now for 14 years in a row, always top right and going up and further right, with every new report that comes up. And we're also a leader in the latest Forrester wave for the enterprise data fabric, which highlights and I would say validates the fact that OCI GoldenGate and GoldenGate as a whole is a unified data fabric platform. So now with that, we're going to talk about use cases, Suzanne, with you, and we're going to have a chat about the various use cases and reference architectures that we've built.
Perfect. Let's do it. So we're going to take you through all of these, or Julian will take you through, and then we'll have just a little discussion on how we can apply this to real life, which brings it a lot of color, I think. Thanks, Julian.
Exactly. Thanks, Suzanne. And, I think this slide, really highlights everything that you can do with OCI GoldenGate. And today we're going to be really focusing on 4 use cases. Obviously, the multi-cloud use case. And here we're talking about like moving data back and forth between different clouds, and of course today we're going to talk a little bit about a lot about moving data between OCI and Azure, but what we're going to mention also applies to moving data between GCP and Azure, GCP and OCI, and so on. So we're going to drill down into this, and we have many customers nowadays running OCI GoldenGate and leveraging multi-cloud environments. Another key use case and very popular use case is around on-prem to cloud data movement. Obviously, these can be migrations, but also ensuring the ability to fail over in case of a migration during the testing phase, leveraging the bidirectional replication capabilities that are built inside GoldenGate. We're going to talk about the ability to ingest data from and into streaming platforms, and the ability for GoldenGate to change data into platforms like Kafka, Confluent Cloud, Azure Event Hubs, and I would say most of the Kafka-like, if I can say, technologies are there, and like data distribution use case, if you will. And then we're going to talk about like modern data platform, modern analytics, modern data science, with the ability through OCI GoldenGate to capture data and then deliver it into your data lakes, your lake houses, infrastructures, and we'll have a reference architecture and a use case about that specific use case. And as you can see, there are more things that can be done with OCI GoldenGate. Some are very popular, like getting data from apps and create reporting databases, but those are not necessarily applicable to what we're going to really drill down into today in this webinar. So starting with the first reference architecture and piggybacking on the great networking explanation and architecture that Suzanne was talking about in the very beginning, here this use case is all about business continuity across hybrid environments. So you're migrating your data. Most likely you have an Oracle database footprint on-prem. You're migrating that footprint into a database at Azure. And you want to ensure that you're leveraging, the most efficient, as we've seen, data replication technology to do so. And that's going to be GoldenGate and OCI GoldenGate. And GoldenGate is going to allow you to not only replicate and send the data and migrate the data into a database at Azure, but it's also going to allow you to replicate the data from database at Azure back into into the Oracle database running on-prem to ensure that those two data stores are always synchronized, and that if something happens during the migration, like you're testing it, and you find that maybe the results that you're getting is not yet what you were expecting, so you want to fall back to the on-prem environment. Because GoldenGate allows you to do bidirectional synchronization, you can easily fail over to the on-prem system, and without any data loss, with a very low RTO and very low RPO, recovery time objective, and recovery point objective. And GoldenGate in that area really complements really well our zero downtime migration offering, or ZDM offering, which behind the scenes can also leverage GoldenGate for the logical replication. So in such environments, typically you use GoldenGate running in OCI in the same region or in the same, I would say, tenancy as database at Azure. And what you will need is, most likely, as a best practice, you will need either an IPsec VPN connectivity from on-prem to OCI, or you can set up the interconnect using ExpressRoute and Fast Connect to ensure that you have a dedicated pipe between your on-prem environments, and OCI. So then OCI GoldenGate through the OCI network will be able, and Fast Connect or the VPN will be able to reach into your on-prem system, grab the change data from there, and then replicate it into database at Azure. As you can see, we've added a virtual cloud network, a VCN, in the middle, which is the hub VCN, because the VCN that is used by the database at Azure cannot entirely, cannot be connected out of the box to the on-prem environment through remote peering, because of the way it's set up and all the internal, great things that we're doing between OCI and Azure. So what you do is you put a VCN in the middle, the hub VCN that you see in the middle. You set up local peering between the database VCN and the hub VCN, and then you set up remote peering between the hub VCN and your on-prem network. And that's when gonna allow all of the data to flow, I would say securely, using a dedicated pipe, using predictive, a bandwidth that you can predict when you use Fast Connect, and providing you with the best performance end to end.
Yeah, thanks for that explanation, Julian, because this is what I was talking about when I mentioned when I was talking through the architecture at the end, and I said that it doesn't permit that direct communication between OCI resources and the Azure resources. So that's why in the next use cases, we see what you've just described as well. So I think that was, I think that was clearly described. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
And now what I would say on this one, what potentially could be leveraged as well is if you're already running GoldenGate on-prem, you also have that ability to mix and match, and use OCI GoldenGate with an existing GoldenGate deployment that you have on premises, and then you can interconnect them. So, for some use cases, it might make sense if you want to have a very low latency capture to leverage that GoldenGate deployment that you may have on-prem, and then use that to send the data into OCI GoldenGate that then is very close to database at Azure and can replicate the data into the targets with a very low latency as well.
I think that's an excellent point when you're talking about that architecture as well, Julian, because in terms of what customers are doing, I can imagine quite a lot already are using GoldenGate on premises to replicate their data between systems. And as you already showed in that connectivity slide earlier on, you've got the capability within GoldenGate to have this wonderful heterogeneous capability to talk across RDBMSs as well, Postgres, MySQL, SQL Server, and so forth. And you also pointed out that we can do this real-time data capture as well between the clouds. So a lot of customers using some popular choices like Snowflake, Google BigQuery, AWS Redshift, and so forth. And I can imagine that's often quite used as well in this kind of a hybrid use case.
Yeah, that's correct. And you're bringing up a great point, like Suzanne. Of course, so here the use case is more like a like-to-like type of data synchronization. But yeah, if you have Postgres running on-prem, if you have MySQL running on-prem or running in other clouds, OCI GoldenGate gives you that ability to move the data over across heterogeneous technologies. And if we were to replace the on-prem data center here with like Amazon Web Services or with Google Cloud, it would be pretty much the same architecture, and that's definitely a very common use case for our customers today. Yes.
Okay, it's great to get that multi-cloud context for GoldenGate. Thanks.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's talk about the next reference architecture or the next use case that we're highlighting today. And here, now the data is already in Database at Azure, and you want to leverage that data in real time to augment or to send data into your modern data analytics or data science or AI ML platform. And what's better than OCI GoldenGate to do so, right? So with OCI GoldenGate, as I was mentioning, we have that ability to leverage those very efficient, very secure APIs to get the data out of the database at Azure, and leveraging the same or very similar networking setup that we've talked about with the local peering, then the remote peering, and here the interconnect between OCI and Azure. We can then deliver that change data from autonomous or Exadata running on Database at Azure into some of the I would say very popular Azure services like Blob Storage, Azure Data Lake Storage, Synapse Analytics for your Lakehouse, and also Azure Databricks when it comes to the AI ML workloads. here we're leveraging the interconnect because most probably as a best practice, your Azure services are sitting behind private links or private endpoints, so they cannot be accessed over the public internet. And that's why, we set up that, dedicated network between OCI and Azure, leverage the great partnership that we've talked about between OCI and Azure, and allowing you, to ensure the data flows into your corporate data lake, into your AI ML workloads. That's definitely something that's very popular among our user base, Suzanne.
Yeah, definitely. But and then, like you say, that means that the traffic can then flow between. You can have these cross-cloud workloads without them traversing the internet, keeping it secure, and having these wonderful use cases too. And I think it's quite interesting how the whole data lake use cases can come about. So I'm kind of curious to understand how our customers are using GoldenGate for, like mass data ingestion and how they apply analytics in a multi-cloud architecture. I'm sure you've come across quite a few customers who are, say, in Azure, and I wondered if you could provide some examples.
Absolutely. And there are many examples, but like two that come to my mind. The first one that I'm going to mention is a tire company, a tire manufacturer that decided that their corporate data lake would be in Azure Data Lake Storage. So what they're doing with OCI GoldenGate is they are sending data from their an EBS. It's an Oracle app running on-prem, and they are using OCI GoldenGate to send the data from EBS into Azure Data Lake Storage in a very, I would say, similar architecture with the OCI and Azure interconnect, very low latency, mass ingest into Azure Data Lake Storage. So that's definitely one great example. And then from there, with their data lake, they are, analyzing the data, preparing it, they are transforming it so that, they massage it, if I can say, so that it becomes usable for their downstream applications. And then the other use case that I'm thinking about is a very large airline that's part of one of the major frequent flyer program out there. And what they're doing is they are running their frequent flyer program using Exadata databases. And what they wanted to do was, a couple of things. One, sharing data with their partners in a more secure, faster manner. But also being able, using that frequent flyer data, being able to, augment the revenue or maximize the revenue that they were getting out of it, and also to detect fraud. And so they've decided to use a corporate data lake also on Azure Data Lake Storage to send the data into and then analyze it. So they are using OCI GoldenGate to do that. And it's two deployments. It's an OCI GoldenGate for Oracle deployment to get the data out of Oracle, and then an OCI GoldenGate for big data deployment to then deliver the data into the Azure Data Lake Storage. And then from there, they are running using Azure Databricks. They are running their AI ML workloads on top of that frequent flyer data, and they've been able to, already identified, some fraud, maximize the revenue that they were getting out of the frequent flyer program. And they've really been able to modernize the way they were exchanging data, I would say, overall throughout the enterprise and with their partners, and modernize it thanks to OCI GoldenGate and that ability to move data now in real time in a very secure manner. And we have many more use cases. We have videos on YouTube. We have blogs, technical articles that I would recommend everybody to go to and to get more information about some of our customer references. And that airline that we were just talking about, Suzanne, in addition to sending data into their data lake, as I mentioned, they had to also share data with their partners. In order to share data in a very efficient manner, they decided to use Azure Event Hub and basically push the data coming out of Exadata into Event Hub, and then have their partners, subscribe to the Event Hub topics and like Kafka topics in a way, and then get data and get the data that they needed from Kafka. So really like a a data distribution use case that is very popular. It's something that we've seen, in the past couple of years really grow and expand the footprint of GoldenGate at our existing customer, and also give us opportunities to get to new users and more modern applications that our customers are building. And that's exactly what this architecture here is about, right? Like we're leveraging a very similar flow to what we were leveraging in the previous slide, but now more from the angle of building like a real-time data streaming platform on Azure, using the data that is stored in Database at Azure. And so OCI GoldenGate would capture the change data, send it through Fast Connect and interconnect into the private endpoints and private links in Azure, and then deliver the data into, maybe your own Kafka, your own customer managed Kafka implementation that you run on Azure Compute, maybe in Azure Event Hub, maybe in Confluent Cloud that also can run on Azure. And then from there, you can build a robust, I would say data streaming pipeline through a GoldenGate to ensure that, your critical data, your valuable data gets into those messaging platform and streaming platforms that you may want to leverage or that you're already leveraging.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense with the airline, given the amount of data that they need to share and push out to their partners in the alliance programs. So it's interesting. Yeah. Okay.
And that's a very common use case, Suzanne. I mean, I can mention, a logistics company that's also sending data into Kafka using OCI GoldenGate and GoldenGate in general to then broadcast the information. And, using Kafka is a very, common way and popular way to do it. I mean, we have our own capabilities now with the data streams that we added in GoldenGate 23 AI, but, we still have a lot of customers leveraging messaging platforms.
Yeah, didn't you mention to me before as well that there's real-time data updates as well in the gaming industry and so forth?
Yeah.
Enablement.
Yeah, that's a great reminder.
Understanding where the revenue is coming from and which platforms it's coming from.
Exactly. And that's, it was like very timely because we were working together with that gaming company back in the Cloud World days, last year, and, thinking about casinos and everything. And their use case was really about like maximizing of course, maximizing the revenue that they were getting out of their users, and especially, like trying to monitor what was going on in real time in the casino. So somebody sitting at a slot machine and knowing in real time through GoldenGate if they were winning or losing. And then they were using our streaming analytics component that is part of the GoldenGate platform to then be able to prepare and transform the data in real time and send alerts to their own backend system, so they could then send coupons, maybe free drinks to their customers in case they are losing, or maybe some additional credits in case they were winning, so that they can stay at the table and all the slot machines, and then extend their stay basically within the casino. And that's pretty nice. That's something we can apply to retail use cases. And what we really like to show from a streaming analytics standpoint is the geolocation capabilities that we have. So you can also monitor in real time where the customers are, like from a physical location standpoint. And if they get close to a store, or if they are about to leave the casino, you can, send them alerts, send them notifications, so that again, they stay or they come to your store if they are not yet there, right? So we have a lot of great capabilities in that area.
That's wonderful. So looking at how all the data is streamed and how it works, you spoke at the start about the data fabric in its entirety and the capabilities of the data replication. So when we look at that stack, you mentioned stream analytics earlier. How does that really complement the data replication capabilities of the fabric, the data platform that we're talking about here, for these customer scenarios, for these real life use cases?
Yep. So those two, we have the data replication component in OCI GoldenGate that's going to do the change data capture and the delivery of the change data. And then streaming analytics can actually be directly connected to the replication capabilities of the data replication deployments. And then you can see when you build your streaming ETL pipeline in streaming analytics, you can see the real-time data flowing into the platform. And then from there, you can join it with other streams, join it with maybe existing data that is sitting in your Oracle database, for example, in Exadata on Database at Azure. And then from there, you can filter the data, you can transform the data, you can apply AI ML patterns, like we have a scoring algorithm, we have more functionality that's actually coming from an AI ML standpoint. So, really streaming analytics is complementing the core replication functionality in GoldenGate by adding those streaming ETL or continuous ETL functionality to further process the data and then act on the data and visualize the data.
Wonderful. Okay. I think that's clear. Okay, so I think that brings our presentation to a conclusion. I really just want to make a summary here of what the platform, the solution, as we call it, Oracle Database at Azure delivers. As Julian has taken us through it has this very important part, OCI GoldenGate, in multi-cloud architectures and providing customers choice. And this is what we're trying to do with Oracle Database at Azure, is trying to give our customers choice to continue using the Oracle database and respective database cloud services, currently Exadata Database Service, an autonomous database serverless. And here we're giving you the capability, with Exadata to have this, high availability and unlock the scalability and rack and security. And with autonomous serverless, that capability to use Apex and, very, 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 autonomous capabilities to leverage that burden from you. And really, really important in development environments to actually accelerate development and cross-platform development between Azure and Oracle, which is why we formed this partnership and try to make it easier for you in terms of commercial benefits as well. So customers can burn down their Azure commitments, the MAC as they call it, we enable that for the Oracle database services that are available, as well as object storage and the network data transfer charges as well, once you've gone over our limit per month of 10 terabytes, which is generous on our side and enables you to pay for them on the Mac on the other side, as well as the usual benefits from OCI with bring your own license included. And we work with Microsoft to really focus, like I said earlier, on global regional expansion to bring you the regions that you need. So we do have a question, but before we do that, Tammy, do you have any other closing words to say before we go into the questions?
No, let's go to the question because we're running out of time, and
exactly.
I really want to get to that question because it's a multi-part question, and so I think it's really important to do that. So
I think Kat has asked us quite a few questions in terms of from everything from auto-scaling to pricing. So Julian, let's just go through these. I think it's really important, this first point. GoldenGate as a service is available at OCI at Azure, and I think we need to distinguish exactly where it's available, how it's available, how we are actually licensing it. For example, is it available on Mac Burndown? Not right now. It's available via OCI GoldenGate, which is obviously our UCM license model. So Julien, do you want to say a few words about its availability in terms of Azure as well?
Yeah, so as you said, it's available in OCI in all commercial regions on OCI, and obviously you have quite a few of those that are available. I mean, that are interconnected with the Azure data centers, where it's pretty much like if it was running on Azure. But as you said, like the credits that you burn would be universal credits on the OCI side, and not not Azure credits. Obviously we have, like a lot of roadmap items that,
Yes.
not necessarily going to go into,
Exactly.
even if, we talked about the safe harbor statement at the beginning.
Yes.
But, even if it's in OCI only at the moment, as we've shown that, it's definitely a great fit for, like the database at Azure and the Azure services in general. In terms
That's
of
right. I just wanted to add to that. And also you've still got the capability to deploy it on Azure Compute as well. But to be clear, to make that distinction, it's not delivered with Oracle Database at Azure. And this is something that, like Julien said, in terms of roadmap items that we're paying very close attention to, because we understand customers would be interested to deploy GoldenGate in Azure and also have the benefit of burning down their Mac commitments as well. So sorry, go ahead with the licensing comment.
Yeah, no, that absolutely, you're absolutely right, and you made a good point, because I didn't mention it during the when we looked at the reference architecture. But yeah, you can also do what we did mention with OCI GoldenGate, using a GoldenGate running on Azure directly, using running on Azure Compute, and we do have customers that are doing it today. So that's a different deployment option, and then the licensing is different, right? You're not burning the OCI credits, but now you need like on-prem licenses to do so, which is pretty much the second question, right? Like, how is the on-prem GoldenGate licenses work? It's you have to count the source and target processors, and that's what you would use to then come up with the license costs for GoldenGate if you wanted to run it on compute. And I would say for that, reach out to your account team, your Oracle account team, and they can assist you with the quotes and everything.
Exactly. Yeah. And that would be available on oracle.com in terms of the
actual price
you've just mentioned as well, Venkat. Yeah. So is there a way to control the auto scaling limits in terms of thresholds? As Venkat says, you may want to limit the maximum number of CPUs or memory at any given time so it can't be exceeded.
Yeah, so it's up to 3 times. So once it's enabled, it will go up to 3 times. So you cannot control, up to 2 times or up to 1.5 times, the base of CPUs. It's always up to 3 times. But what you can do is you can control how many, the maximum number of CPUs that you can use, right? If my base CPU count is 1, I can only go up to 3. If I'm setting up to 2, I can go to 6, and so on. So that's how you can control at least the threshold, the ceiling, if I can say. But then within once it kicks in, it can go up to 3 times. You cannot control that.
Okay. So then, anybody got any more questions for today? Got a couple of minutes. Okay, I'm going to hand back over to you, Tammy.
All right, thank you very much. And Jillian, if you could just go to the next slide, that'd be awesome. I think we're past the gap. We've done the Q&A. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We really appreciate that. Also, I just want to give you a little hint of next month. We're going to talk about the new Google Cloud announcement and how we can use that partnership and the capabilities that we have. So anyway, thank you again for joining us. Julian, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate that. I think lots of questions on GoldenGate have been answered today. And Suzanne, thank you so much again for all your support and a great conversation with our webcast today. All right, with that, I'll sign off. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Bye now.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.